Hello, welcome to Professor Skye's Record Review, the only first listen new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after leaving the gym. And then going to get a haircut. So that's why I'm not in my workout gear, I'm in my Christmas sweater. And today I'm going to be doing something I've been talking about doing for a year. I call it Taxonomy 2019. And what it is, it's a retrospective of Patricia Taxxon's output from the year 2019. This is a flawed premise. Let me tell you why. She releases music once a month, and in a way, it is a form of releasing music that I, as a Generation Xer, or Boomer, as most people would call me, I'm not really familiar with. And I don't really understand how someone can release music once a month and then basically change style and change approach and release something the next month. I am very much used to the old model of music where you take a year the Beatles took 6 months to release an album, but still you got the sense that they were creating something and they were perfecting it and they were working it and working it and working it and then releasing it. To a certain degree, Bandcamp as a technology, YouTube as a technology, just GarageBand and Audible, Audacity, all these things, all these programs have lent to a style of releasing music which is more akin to blogging than it is to traditional album release. So the theory behind this video is that I take Patricia Taxxon very seriously, and I don't always like all of her albums. I don't always like all the tracks on all of her albums. But my little theory that I was working on was that if you took all of her output in 1 year and selected the best track from each album, you would have something that resembles a truly great album, in the Boomer sense of the word. So that's what I did. It's kind of strange because a couple months ago I offered, sorry, you're going to hear Toby in the background. The mailman is delivering mail. And Toby, the mailman deserves to deliver mail. It's just a job. Anyways, you'll hear him. It's funny because a couple months ago I made an open offer on this channel to produce a record for Patricia Taxxon. Like, just pay the money to have it made and she could do whatever she wanted with it. She didn't take me up on it, and I understand. I wasn't really expecting her to, although the offer remains open, and will remain open, like forever. So, if Patricia Taxxon turns 60 and I'm 80, the offer is still up there. It was pointed out to me that she did release one CD, Little Spoon, which strangely is the last thing that she put out in 2018, so it doesn't figure into this year's review. But the idea was, let's just take this artist and see what would happen if we distilled everything to just what I perceive of as the best of the best. I was nervous. I was nervous when I put this together because I want to like Patricia Taxxon's music. And when you want to like somebody's music, it's very difficult as someone who considers himself a critic or an intellectual or whatever, to treat it with the same rigor that you would something that you were neutral about. I got into Patricia Taxxon's music through my friend Gabe. He shares a lot of things with me about YouTube and the way technology works and helps me to sort of connect to what young people are doing, if I were young, what I would like, So in that kind of context, I wanted to like, and I think you can see that in my reviews. I don't get super harsh at times where I might. I am biased by the fact that she's responded to my tweets or whatever it is, or I believe that she watches my videos. So I was nervous when I put this together. Like, am I actually going to like it? And the good news is that I do. And that my suspicion that after releasing 12 EPs, from that you can get one truly great magnum opus of a work. Emotionally complex, stylistically diverse, well-produced, well-written, and somehow emotionally and lyrically quite coherent. And that was sort of the biggest surprise. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through it. These are all my notes, and these are going to be in the show notes. These are just links to the songs on Bandcamp. And I'm going to play them for you. The nice thing about Patricia Taxxon, and she doesn't have any copyright stuff. So I don't have to worry about it. It's really annoying trying to make a YouTube channel where you review music, because I'm just trying to get people to buy more music, and the companies just get madder and madder at me. So I had a whole order, and then I was re-listening to the songs, and I realized Patricia Taxxon might have released the best song of the year. Of all the thousands of songs that I listened to, there's a chance that Road, off of the album 16 Sketchbooks Ago, is the best track of 2019. Now there's some stiff competition. A couple tracks off of Jesus is King, a couple tracks off of the Andrew Bird album, a couple tracks off of Sebastian. I think Give It a Run for Its Money. But certainly Road is, I would say, if you are on the fence about Patricia Taxxon, listen to this track seriously. Listen to it with headphones, and I'm going to play it for you a little bit. And let me tell you why I like it so much. It has the vulnerability, which she's able to communicate, but it's a vulnerability that's matched with a fearlessness of production. It's a very jarring production. It's just throughout the entire song, and then her singing with a vocoder on it. Again, very reminiscent of Neil Young in the early 80s. Homework for all of you who have not listened to the album Trans by Neil Young. Listen to it. It's amazing. He was doing what people would try to do 50 years later. But much like what Neil Young was able to do, Patricia Taxxon is able to use the technology to cover the voice enough to allow for more vulnerability. So it's like, some sunglasses, right? If a sunglass is 98% UV protected, it's actually worse for you than no sunglasses at all, because what it does is it opens up your pupil or whatever, it opens up your eyes, it fools your eyes into thinking they're safe, and then it actually allows more sunlight in and damages your eyes. In a way, the way that she's using this vocoder to cover up her voice ends up leaving something more raw. Because unlike autotune, with this vocoder sound, you still hear her actual voice underneath. And the lyrics that she's singing, I think, are the most exemplary of what she's going through in this album, in this year. I'm going to read you a little bit of the lyrics right here. She talks about being in silence and everyone else is asleep. I assume she's recording in her home. And then she asked the question, do you love me or just my images of pain? And I think this is, what's interesting is I think she's singing a lot to her audience and to her followers and her friends and all of the asymmetrical parasocial relationships that she has. But it's amazing that she's able to voice this expression, everything I wanted is on the screen. She talks about, do you love me? Does she actually get this back? I could talk with you all night even though I don't know your name. She's really getting at the heart of what I think a lot of musicians are going to have to contend with, which is the difficulty of being in parasocial relationships with their fans. Mick Jagger didn't have to worry about this, right? Mick Jagger had to worry about getting busted at the airport, okay? But he didn't have this kind of access or relationship with his fans. And I think this needs to be expressed. I think this is a point worth making. And I think Patricia Taxxon makes it very well with this excellent song. So I suggest, if nothing else, just listen to this track and see if you like it to get into Patricia Taxxon. So this is the beginning of the song, and it has that great texture and feel. But then even later, she develops it more and has this kind of sweeter part. where like the drum machine comes in, and you still have the doom, da, doom, 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 but then she writes this nice long melody. And one thing that she's proven over and over again is her capacity to write beautiful long rhythms. And you listen to this in the car, you know, like it's got that nice driving feeling. It's grand, it's epic, but it's also personal. God damn it, I love this song. And that's it, that's the end of my video. No, it's not the end of my video, but it could be. That's how much I love the song Road. She started off the year with an album I didn't even get to review. I kind of missed it. This is a really hot sweater. This is a Christmas sweater. It's an exact replica of the one that Chris Evans wears in Knives Out, because my wife knows me. So the year started off, sorry, I have to like look through all my tabs here because I have it all open on Bandcamp. By the way, Bandcamp does not do playlists. So this is the only way you can hear it. But I'm going to play a little bit of it. So she starts off the year with an album called Astral. And she has a lot of different competing tendencies. I think the instrumental side of her is a little bit more mature and more removed, and I think maybe more accessible to older folks like myself, because it's very ambitious and well constructed, and it does not as challenging in a way in terms of the thematics of what she's singing about, or maybe like a feeling of being distant from the youth. So this is my favorite track off of Astral. I listened to it last week, but in general, the whole thing is like this. It's highly atmospheric. And this is what she's allowing herself to do by releasing something every month. Is if she wants to make an entire album that sounds like this, you know, like she says in her bio, I make music for different moods. And this is actually really quite a nice track, because it has that jumbly video game sound, and then the nice underneath kind of almost like bells sounding underneath. So moving forward, I'm not going to spend too much time with that. Towards the end of the year, I'm jumping around. I'm not going in chronological order. She released an album called Pix and Bit. And this is nice because it followed up Foley Artist, which I thought was a very sad album. And Pix and Bit's a little bit more upbeat. And the track 9 Stars is probably her second best track of the year. So I'm going to play you a little bit of 9 Stars, and then we'll talk about it as we're listening. So this is an example of how she plays with rhythm pretty consistently. Hear how far behind it is on the beat. Like there isn't really beat, it's basically polyrhythm. And it creates that sort of tension. And then she comes in and starts singing. And what I like is how this chorus develops, how much she's actually giving into her singing, because she's a better singer than I think she lets herself be, and I think you hear it here. You hear that voice there? She's really giving into it. And I'm often challenged by her voice. I often find it aggravating or annoying. And I think this is going in the right direction. I think the combination of these two songs, Road and 9 Star, manipulate the voice a little bit, but then when you're doing it, just give more into it. And she's really giving into that. And I think she can pull it off. And I don't always get the sense that she has the confidence in her own voice as much. The next track that I'll play is off an album that made it to my top albums of the year, Victory Lap. This is a whole nother side of Patricia Taxxon. So we've already had the kind of very personal take on the nature of life, Road and 9 Star, and you have her sort of atmospheric, instrumental side, and then you have a kind of punk side, a sort of mash up, steal everything, make everything new, take it, who cares, copyright sucks, money sucks, just make awesome music. Okay, that sounds like that should be like you should mix that into like a song. Copyright sucks, money sucks, make great music. And this first track, Hello, I Ruined Music, is a great example of her just playing around. When I was in high school, I used to make tapes for my friends on actual cassette tapes, and I would just watch TV, and I'd listen to music, and I would cut little pieces, and I'd put them together, and I'd play them for my friends, and they just loved it, and they thought they were so funny. If the internet existed, I would have put them on Bandcamp, and who knows what would have happened. But this feels very much in that same way, where she's just making music for her friends. Like, look at this. I mixed together this Bjork song and the Eminem song and some other pop songs and just put it all together. And the basis of it is this hilarious sketch of this like viral video of someone saying he's getting a free taco and then falling on his skateboard. So all of this mixes together with just amazing complexity. So this is two different versions of Eminem. And the guy saying he's getting his free taco underneath. And then this crazy weird pop song comes in the background. And throughout all that, also a Bjork sample happens. And somehow it's all cohesive. Somehow it manages to be enjoyable to listen to. I listen to this all the time with my kids, and we enjoy it and we listen to it. And even though it's aggravating, it's very listenable. And the only real consistent thing is, oh yeah, you know this boy, he's got his free taco. So that's kind of the happy, fun, happy-go-lucky side. Why not get to the sad side? And that's with the album Foley Artist. Sorry, I'm just looking at my computer screen because it's very hard to find all the tabs on Safari. I'm actually told that I'm a loser for using Safari. I don't care. So, Foley Artist is the album that carried the subtitle "Someone Help Me," and that's why I ended up, making the offer to make a record and everything. And this is it's very interesting because half the year Patricia Taxxon had a different name. She went by Eric Taxxon, and I don't know how much of the musical output is about the experience of transition. Not much. If I had to actually look at it, I don't think that that's the note that she's trying. I don't think that's the struggle in life that she's really trying to express this year. To her credit, I bet it would be easy to sing about that and have people respond to it. But it feels like the emotional issues that she's working through on the albums are deeper than that. And I don't mean to minimize whatever issues come up with there, but they're a little bit more primal about the nature of how do I feel in the world? What is my relationship to other people? Who am I at my core? And I think gender identity might be part of that, but it doesn't appear to be defining. That said, the ending of Foley Artist, which is a particularly dark album, songs like Breastbone, it's just like, ugh, it's just, even that's that title, just, the track Jailbreak is the sort of opening where it just says over and over again, Patricia comes alive in the end. We're going to listen to it, but it's a very uplifting thing about Patricia, the fairly recently named Patricia Taxxon. And it's sung, I believe, by somebody else. Let me look up here. Or maybe not. I don't even know. How do I not know that? Well, someone could put that in the comments. But it has this triumphant feeling. And it leaves what could have been a very depressing album on a very hopeful note. Let's listen to it a little bit here, and then I'll remember the lyrics. And some of the same rhythmic things that we've been hearing throughout. Right, Patricia comes as herself, which I think is a very uplifting message about who she is and referring to herself and talking about herself and the kind of freedom of choosing that name. So for a year where that could have been the only thing that she sang about, this is one of the most direct and clear references to this, I don't know, life event. I don't even know what you'd call it. But it's really well layered with this kind of house beat underneath, mixed in with her almost trademark staggered percussion elements that drag you backwards, and this high, elevated singing. Another great track. Do you see how these all kind of play together? Am I making my case here? Just having all four of these together, I don't know. It's a great album. Taxonomy 2019 is a great album. Off of the album Photo 4, which is another fairly strong album, there's another highly vocoder influenced song, or song using vocoder, of great importance, called Please Hold. It's another one of my favorite tracks from the year. Again, it's using some of the terminology and the thematics of our technologically drenched life, like Please Hold, and recontextualizing them almost in a Tom York way, from Radiohead, where you sort of take what the expression please hold and then expand it out and say, like, well, please hold could be like wait, but also like please hold me. I want to be held. Maybe that's why I like this sweater. I like always being held by wearing the sweater. And in a similar way, in a different album, I forget which one, there's a song called Take These Hands. In a similar way, Pix and Bit, it's on Pix and Bit. And it's in the beginning, it's like, take these hands, like I'm going to hit you because I'm so mad at you and I'm dominating. But then it shifts to take these hands, like hold my hands. And it's another, I would say, strong thematic throughout the entire year, throughout the entire Taxonomy 2019, is the sort of aggression towards people who are denying her existence or causing her trouble or not accepting her, while simultaneously a plea for acceptance and forgiveness, but a plea for acceptance and communion. Which is why it's great. Just saying, you don't understand me, man, you suck. That's not that interesting. It's interesting and it might be necessary, but sort of saying like, you don't understand me, I wish you understood me, is a much more powerful and human expression. Wow, I'm sorry. I'm really enjoying this. So I don't know how many people really. Screw it. I'm gonna keep going. But I'm enjoying doing this. I hope you're enjoying watching this. So this is some of the more like low-key music that she can make, which is nice. At times she's very upbeat and just very driving in super fast tempo. This is a nice kind of down-tempo song. And again, this usage of vocoder, it's so effective. And I really miss it in music, and I wish more people did it. And I think she does it really well. And the usage of a drum machine as well. Just the simple sounds of a drum machine. That was used in Road as well. Just a basic sounding drum machine, at least since Kanye with 808 and Heartbreak. It's emotional. It's fun. When I was growing up, the drum machine was the sound of no soul. But now it's almost becoming the sound of soul, because actual drum beats are just constantly pocketed and abused, and everything's just oddly, overly regular. Okay, so let me just get to the next one here. All right, so, Toby's gonna bark at the mailman again. Are you done, Toby? No, he's not done. Hey, do you know what, all these Lego I'm showing you? This is from the Lego set that I got my kids. They're too old for Lego, but I got them Vader's Castle anyway. Because even if you're too old for Lego, you always want to play with Lego. So this is Harley Quinn as a Jawa. This is a banana Jawa. And this is, of course, Santa Porg. Can't get cuter than that. All right, we're about halfway through here. We've gone through the first 6 tracks. I think the next ones are going to go a little bit quicker. Another example of her copyright sucks, money sucks, is she took a song called Failing, which is all this person talking while trying to play music at the same time, a kind of art experiment. And she took it and sampled it basically note for note, just hit record, and then added some of her own elements on there. I'm not going to talk about this a lot. Why can't I find this? You know what? I think I might just not even play that for you. Oh, I found it. I am going to play it for you. Okay. So
Messages. I am unable to. People might be very impressed by my playing and think that I had succeeded in playing a piece which the composer thought could not be played successfully by any.
So it has this beginning part, and then by the end, it's just Taxxon making this kind of floating music. But I like anything where the thematic is failure, and I don't know. Doraemon is my least favorite album of the year that she released. I don't know. I didn't like it that much. But it was in the middle of the year, so that's good. And then there's an interesting song, an interesting album called Arbuckle. And this was a soundtrack to a YouTube video. Anyways, it's fun. It's funny. I'm just saying things I never thought that I would understand. So Quinton, I don't know how you pronounce it, is this YouTuber who makes a lot of great videos. I don't entirely agree with his take on the last Star Wars movie, but he made some good points. He at least understands the prequels, to his credit. But Quentin made this video that's sort of dramatizing the creation of Garfield. And there's something about Generation Z, or whatever the hell it is, that has some love of Garfield, which I don't understand. I mean, I love Garfield. I love Garfield growing up. But it's pretty remarkable how often people make videos about Garfield, which is great. And this video is like this passion project of this very talented YouTube commenter. And I like the movie. It's a movie. It's not a video. It's a movie. I like the movie. I don't think it's as good as his commentary, and I don't love it. I don't think it's amazing. I think it's a little bit too saccharine, a little bit too sweet. But then when you listen to the soundtrack, you realize that might actually be kind of the point. And maybe what people love about Garfield is just the simplicity, just the loving lasagna and hating Mondays of it, a lonely man and his cat. That's something which we can relate to on some level. So I think perhaps my negative initial impression of Arbuckle, not negative, but just not particularly positive, right? Like, I share Quentin's videos quite often, but that one I was like, not the best. But it's at least very ambitious. And it's somebody who's in the sphere of just talking about stuff, actually making something. So to that, I hope that Quentin makes more of these things. And then the soundtrack is quite strong, in particular the last track, Garfield and Friends, which all of the sort of sweetness and almost cheesiness of this entire project is heard in the music, but it's so infectiously upbeat that you end up loving it. And Taxxon finds some kind of weird sample of someone saying, "Friends are this," and it's just this really upbeat, happy song. It's so funny thinking about all the dark places that she goes with her music, and discord and polyrhythms and all these things, and then she can release something like this. So, not her best album of the year, not Quentin's best video, but together it's a nice respite from darkness and disagreement, which is actually a really good review. On the album The Best Day, there's a track called Heart, which I'll just play and then discuss while I'm playing it. So weirdly, this keyboard sound Kanye also used a couple months later. I don't know why that is. So this is where she uses a different singer. And I think this might be a good idea, using other singers. This singer isn't particularly better than Patricia Taxxon in terms of her range and vocal accuracy. But I don't think Taxxon's music requires accuracy. It requires heart. It requires this weird mixture of, the song's called Heart, but it requires a weird mixture of heart, intellect, heart and kind of nerdiness, I think. Which produces its own kind of soul. So I like the way that this voice sounds. I like the sort of traditional Taxxon multi-rhythm going on here, kind of video gamey sound, nice layered, and almost a trap beat behind it. And very sweet lyrics as well. Do you want to see the Lego that the kids made of me? Do you want to see me in Lego form? No, says the audience. I don't care. I'm going to show it to you anyways. He'll dance to this. See, he's got a baguette because he's a French professor. It's not a bad likeness. So more of the interesting play and Taxxon trying to figure out where is her voice and where does it relate to other people and where does it relate to the music. On the album Beauty, which is a mostly instrumental album, the track You is the one that I chose. It's the first track. And this has some of the nicest sort of layering of different elements. I'll play it a little bit here. So it has kind of like a jungle drum beat and like pitched samples. And this is the sort of more atmospheric sound again that we hear on a lot of Patricia Taxxon music throughout the entire year. And the thing I would say is that it really does bear repeat listening. That's been the nice thing about putting this together, is forcing myself to listen to some of the stuff that I didn't like as much. Such as this, right? Like, I like Pix and Bit way more than I like Beauty, but having to pick just the right song to represent Beauty, I think ultimately it made me like Beauty a lot more. The first album that I reviewed from this year was Wavetable. And this is yet another side of Patricia Taxxon, which has her analyzing and using different technologies. And basically, I get the sense that she just discovered this setting on her computer or some kind of software and just said, I'm going to make an album with this. You know, like in the 70s when some rock artist found keyboards and they just, this is our keyboard album, you know? So let's listen to a little bit of Ordeal Day, which is a nice mixture of the kind of, I want to make sure there's enough of just unadulterated Patricia Taxxon vocals on here because they are important. I criticize them at times, but it's very important to have her actual voice because if we're going to be listening to music almost as a blog post, then I think it's really important that you actually hear the person themselves speaking or typing or singing. And it's got this great keyboard sound. This is a long video, huh? Oh well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to end it with a track called The Long Dream. And I'm just going to discuss my final thoughts. And then there's going to be a bonus. At the end of this, I'm going to go back in time, right before my haircut, and review the new Patricia Taxxon album, Jailbreak. Yeah. Jailbreak. Hey, Skye is in there. Which is some town in Finland. I looked it up. And I'm going to review that. And I think that, as we'll see, it kind of fits well into this instrumental mode. And I'm thinking about Taxonomy 2020. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to review all of her records because I want to. And I think if you take all these songs and you listen to these songs, you do the homework, professor is assigning you homework, you listen to all these songs in this order, you'll really get a sense of not what Patricia Taxxon could be, but what she is, which is a great artist. But that's not always clear to me, as the boomer Xer that I am, when I hear it in little tiny chunks, and I don't like everything, and I don't like all the different moods that she's writing songs for all the time. All right, so let's go back in time. Hey, so did my haircut look good? Anyways, I'm just going to review the album, which I just said the name of in the future. I don't know how to say it now. It's some Finlandic town, some town in Finland. So this is going to be a very quick review. I'm about to go get my hair did. The new album is really quite nice. It's actually quite a mature album. Maybe it's just because there's no singing and she's so young that I sort of instinctively perceive of her singing as being immature. Maybe that's ageist of me. I don't know what it is. But whenever she does fully instrumental albums, it has maybe a little bit more weight, or it seems a little bit more serious. And I think that's the case with this one. It's funny because the first track, I don't remember the name of it, but the first track starts off and it's like, it's making this noise, and I listened to it. My daughter made me turn it off. She's like, ah! And she likes Patricia Taxxon. Like, we listen to other songs, but that's maybe one of the things that hopefully I got to in the video I'm going to record later today, that she has such a breadth of artistic styles and attitudes. And even within this instrumental record, it starts off very discordant, very unpleasant. But then it ends with this like kind of light song with these sort of flute sounds. So it really is kind of a passage through this album, through different emotions. Most of it is a kind of combination of very jarring sounds, very metallic. I think I said in one of my previous reviews of one of her albums, it sounds like stepping on ice. A lot of this is like stepping on ice in the middle of a machine, okay? But then other parts, like as it goes, especially once you hit a track called Lithograph, I remembered that, it sort of gets a little bit more lighter and the sounds get a little bit less confusing. Probably the strength, though, comes from the confusion that starts off in the beginning. The first 3 or 4 tracks all have this great layering. She does these things where she makes rhythms that a human being can't make. She makes them with the computer, and it feels almost like she's having fun, like she's just kind of goofing around with different sounds and layers. But she's really good at it. And again, for Taxonomy 2020, which will come out this time next year, I think this would be a good start. And I can already tell there's going to be a couple tracks that I really like quite a bit off this album. I would say I'm going to play a little bit of one of these tracks, and I will let you think about it and see what you think about it, like I've been doing for the rest of the album. You hear some of the great, interesting rhythmic things that she's doing on this album. Kind of multiple things happening at once. I really think she's having fun making this kind of music and exploring the different possible sounds she could be making. All right, let's go back to Weird and Bearded. Okay, so that was Pseudopod, which, as I say, I hope you heard what I heard. Lots of interesting rhythms, lots of interesting layering, great sounds, a very solid instrumental album that tries to throw you off, but if you stay with it, it's quite rewarding. Okay, well, until February, if you only watch my videos for the Tushy T videos, I just came up with that on the way over here. Tushy T, that's probably not a good nickname. I think it's funny though. What's a better nickname for Patricia? Patty or Trish? Put that in the comments. What if that's the one thing that I say that gets a lot of comments? That'd be really stupid. Okay, until next time, I'm gonna go get my haircut. There's the camera.